one thing to be watchful for is when Douglas throws his jab, he throws his jab and lifts his chin. You know, that makes it a really good counter opportunity for Colin. And I really like how he's mixing up the strike zones. He's going body, head. Gives up this early takedown. But I know his coach, Shane Mills, and I know they worked tirelessly on getting up from the bottom, using the cage to help get up. You know, Douglas needs to, whenever he's getting up, he needs to put weight. You know, they call it getting on top of the other guy, putting your head on top of his head, getting height, and putting weight on him so that he can't build a base and work his way up. You know? Colin has a really good chin. You know, he just ate, you know, on the other side of the cage, he ate a hook. He just ate another one over here, you know. It's definitely something you need to be successful in this sport. I really like the takedown attempt by Douglas, you know, reaping the knee and you know, kind of pulling a leg out from the chair, if you will, you know. Just working in on that single, dropping from a body lock to a single. Really nice knee. That landed just barely. Thankful for Douglas. He was pulling his head back, so it just barely landed. When you have the overhook, you have to be heavy on the overhook. Colin needs to roll his shoulder back, and he can't really put pressure on the elbow and roll it back because his shoulder's too high on Douglas's shoulder. You know, Colin needs to throw something. He can't just march in there like that and run up into space. You know, Douglas knows how to fight. When you throw kicks, you have to throw hands first, bring their hands up, and it makes it hard for them to time their kicks and get takedowns. You know, Douglas needs to put weight on Colin so that he can't stand up. Good job switching over to the single. Now he needs to make a move his feet. I mean, he can finish the single, you know. Colin doing a good job in the punch there, you know, knees, throwing everything. You know, he did a really good job mixing up the strike zone and his different kind of strikes. Leg kicks, knees to the body, punches to the head. And when he got taken down, he was able to get up. grappling at the end of that round. He just made a critical mistake there at the very end. That put himself in a bad position, but his feet aren't moving too well right now. He's lumbering, but when the action starts, dude, he gets going. You know, I'd like to see him get going with his combinations and counters sooner instead of eating one to get into the range. You know. He's got really good. He needs to put his head in the chin, like in the neck, like closer to the ear. Another thing that Colin's doing is he's not accepting the takedown. You know, he was in a really bad position there, but he worked his way back up to his feet. And now he's in on this single, which is a really good position, but he needs to finish, otherwise he's going to get butt dragged again. You know, this isn't a wrestling position. He's hunched over, his chin is tucked, so it really restricts the breathing. He needs to either pop his head out, get that head position, there you go, and now this is more of a wrestling position. He's got wrist control, he needs to throw knees, he needs to look into the chin, so they're just kind of leaning on each other. If Douglas right now pulls it, limp arms his arm out and turns the corner to his overhook, he would have got out of that position. And now he's got double underhooks. And he's putting him up against the cage. That's the head position that I'm talking about, the head position that you need when you're in these grappling exchanges. You know, he's got Colin's feet kind of kicked out from underneath him so he could sit him down and reap his leg. You know, good job. But you know, you have to work your way up. You can't stay on your knees when you go to finish double legs on the cage. When you're on your knees, you just can't quite create that force to stick somebody on the cage. So you need to do exactly what Douglas just did. Get to your feet, lock your hands. And we got a triangle attempt. Colin needs to roll to his back the other way and turn into him and go into like a half guard situation. Being mounted is not a good position up against the cage. You know, clearly he's a wrestler. He goes to that tripod position, that turtle position. If you have an underhook, you should never take it out. I think Douglas is just a little too much. Now he looks much bigger, stronger. And then the wrestling was definitely the X factor in that fight. You know, it's probably the best fight of the night.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of competition, your judges score it 29-28 across the board for your winner,